My stepdaughter acted like I didn't even exist at her wedding. She had her biological dad walk her down the aisle instead. But when the bills started rolling in, I was already long gone. I've been with my wife, Monica, for over 20 years now. Back when we first crossed paths, she was raising her daughter, Megan, all on her own. Megan was only 4 at the time, full of life, curious about everything, and her laugh could brighten up even the dullest day. I still remember spotting her for the first time, running after a paper airplane in the park while clutching Monica's hand. Something about that little scene told me this was where my life was headed. Monica never hid anything about her past. She let me know early on that Megan's dad, Rick, wasn't exactly reliable. He'd pop in once in a while, promise the moon, then vanish again. Maybe he'd show up for her birthday with some cheap toy, then disappear for months. And even though Monica tried not to let Megan get her hopes up, that little girl still lit up every time he showed. Once things got serious between Monica and me, she made it clear Megan would always come first. I was fine with that. What I didn't expect was just how deep my love for that little girl would grow. It didn't happen all at once, but every time she handed me a crayon drawing with my name spelled wrong, or wrapped her arms around me and said, "I love you, Dad," I was hooked. I was the one running beside her while she learned to ride a bike, picking her up when she fell and scraped her knees. When she got sick in the middle of the night, I held her while Monica grabbed the thermometer. I helped her practice her school recital poem until she could say it backward. And when the big day came, she peeked out from behind the curtain, spotted me in the crowd, and only then stepped onto the stage. I never missed a single milestone. Meanwhile, Rick was more like a fading shadow in the background. He was all talk, saying things like, "Next summer I'll take you to the beach," or "I'm getting you the bike you wanted." But nothing ever came of it. And when those promises fell flat and Megan's heart broke, I was the one who picked up the pieces. I never tried to turn her against him. I just wanted her to keep faith in people, even if I had to carry the weight of his failures. As the years passed, our bond only got tighter. I was the one sitting at school conferences, helping her pick out her graduation dress, and cheering her on from the bleachers at her games. She called me Dad, and though we didn't share blood, I knew she meant it with every bit of her heart. That's why what happened later hurt so badly. When Megan got into college, I didn't think twice. I helped pay for most of her tuition, covered her books, and even chipped in on her rent for that cramped little off-campus apartment. It wasn't easy financially, but I wanted her to have the kind of future I never had the chance to build. Rick never really stepped up. Sure, once in a while he'd call and say something like, "Your dad's proud of you." But that was about it. No real support, no showing up when it counted. Still, after graduation, Megan ran up to me with tears in her eyes and said, "Thank you, Dad. I couldn't have done this without you." In that moment, every late night, every dollar spent, it all felt worth it. So when she told us she was getting married to a guy named Tyler, I was genuinely happy for her. I pictured myself walking her down the aisle, finally getting that one big moment that would say, "We made it." I never said it out loud, but deep down, I really thought that honor would be mine. After everything we'd shared, how could it not be? As the wedding day got closer, Megan was buzzing with excitement. She talked nonstop about the dress, the flowers, the playlist, you name it. And like always, I stepped up. I helped pay for the reception, pitched in for her gown, and covered a few other things too. I wasn't doing it for recognition. I just wanted to be part of her day in a meaningful way. Then the invitation came in the mail. I opened it, smiling, expecting to see something that made me feel included. Instead, it was just a regular invite. My name wasn't anywhere special. And then I saw it. She'd chosen Rick to walk her down the aisle. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. So I asked her, straight up. And what she told me hit like a punch to the chest. She said, "There's only one biological father, and I've always wanted to give him this moment." I can't even describe what that felt like. All the years I'd been there, every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every sacrifice just tossed aside. But what really cut deep wasn't the decision itself. It was how she said it, like it had never crossed her mind that I might have earned that moment. Like all the memories we shared didn't count. That wedding day ended up being one of the hardest, most gut-wrenching days of my life. I showed up early that day, dressed in the suit I'd had custom-fitted just for the occasion. I slipped into a seat with the other guests, kept quiet, and watched as all eyes turned toward Rick, who was proudly escorting Megan down the aisle. I sat through the speeches, hoping maybe someone, just one person, might mention me. But nobody did. It was like I wasn't even there. Something inside me broke that day. That part of me that had always given without needing anything in return, it just shut off. I didn't realize it in the moment, but that was the turning point. Watching her walk down the aisle holding onto her biological dad's arm, it's burned into my memory. She looked beautiful, like any bride should, but I couldn't enjoy it. That scene wasn't just joyful, it was drenched in hurt. Not because I didn't want her to be happy, but because right then I knew I didn't mean to her what I thought I did. I was just optional. About a week after the wedding, Megan and Tyler took off for their honeymoon, some high-end beach resort with everything included. I didn't ask much about it. Honestly, I couldn't bring myself to take part in any talk about it. That trip came right after one of the most painful days I've ever had. Then she called me. She hadn't even unpacked yet, but she was already on the phone. Sounded cheerful, like nothing had happened. She talked about the beaches, how Tyler surprised her with a dinner under the stars, all smiles. I just listened, said a few words here and there, trying not to fall apart inside. Then came the part one should have seen coming. "Dad," she said, and I'll be honest, just hearing her call me that again hit me harder than I expected. "I need a favor." She explained they'd gone a little over budget on the honeymoon and were short on cash. Could I help out? For a moment, I just sat there, stunned. The way she asked, so casual, like it was a given I'd say yes, really hit me. I'd always been the one to come through, to step up, to give whatever I had so she wouldn't go without. But something in me, right then, said no. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was years of feeling like the backup plan finally catching up with me. Whatever it was, this time I didn't feel like I owed her anything. "I'm sorry, Megan," I told her, trying to keep my voice steady even though my heart was pounding. "I can't help you this time." She went quiet. I could picture her expression, caught off guard. Then she said, "But you've always helped before." She sounded shocked, like it had never occurred to her that I might say no. I took a deep breath and said, "Maybe you should ask Rick. He's your real dad, right? Maybe it's his turn." Another long pause. Then, quietly, she said, "I understand," and hung up. No argument, no pushback, just silence. And somehow that silence hit harder than any words could have. Later that night, Monica came to me. She said I was being cold, that I couldn't just walk away from Megan when she needed help. I told her this wasn't about money. It was about respect. I was there for her for over 20 years, I said. And when she had a chance to show that it meant something, she made me feel like I didn't count. I can't keep stepping in only when it's convenient. But Monica didn't get it. To her, blood was always going to matter more, even when that blood had never shown up for Megan in any meaningful way. Our talk ended without a real resolution, but something shifted between us after that. A quiet wall went up, and it's been there ever since. Megan hasn't reached out since that call. Monica told me later that Tyler was upset too. He thought I'd let her down when she needed support. And as expected, Rick had already disappeared. No phone call. No help. Same old story. Maybe Megan finally saw him for who he really was. But that didn't undo what she'd done to me or how small it made me feel. That night, I sat alone in the living room, thinking back on all those memories. Every bedtime story, every "I love you, Dad," every small moment that made me feel like I belonged in her world. And then it hit me. I used to believe being a dad was something you earned. That it came from the time, the effort, the love you poured in. But now, I'm not so sure. Maybe for her, Dad was just something she said when it worked for her. When it got her something she needed. I don't know if I'll ever fully get past it. But I do know one thing. I'm done being the one who always gives. Because the truth is, I don't think I've got anything left in me to give. It's been 3 months since the wedding, and even though I've done everything I can to keep my distance, the drama still finds me. Monica keeps trying to play peacekeeper. She gives me that look, the one that says she's disappointed, but still holding out hope that I'll cave, that I'll go back to being the guy who never says no. But what she doesn't seem to get, or maybe refuses to accept, is that something in me changed that day. I can't go back. Not anymore. Since that call with Megan, the one where I finally said no, she hasn't reached out once. And yeah, that stung in the beginning. But now? Now it actually feels like relief. No more fake conversations that always led to her asking for money. No more pretending. What I didn't expect was how quickly her marriage started to fall apart. Of course, Monica kept talking to her. One night at dinner, she casually dropped it into conversation. "Megan and Tyler are struggling," she said with a sigh. "Tyler lost his job. They're behind on rent." I kept eating. I already knew where this was going. Sure enough, she leaned in and said, "Don't you think we should help them? She's our daughter." I set my fork down. Took a slow breath. "She's not my daughter anymore, Monica," I said. "That role belongs to Rick, remember? If she needs help, I added, she can call him. Monica just stared at me like I'd said something unforgivable. How can you be so cold? She asked. She's always counted on you. I let out a short laugh, sharp, bitter. Cold? You know what was cold? Sitting through her wedding like I was a stranger. Like none of it meant anything. That's what cold looks like. I looked her in the eye. If Rick gets the big, important moments, then he can handle the messy ones too. That ended the conversation. Monica quietly took her plate to the sink. We went to bed that night without saying a word, just two people lying next to each other, facing opposite walls. It hurt. Of course it did. The last thing I ever wanted was for all this to start cracking our marriage, too. But I couldn't keep being the guy who gave everything and got nothing in return. And just when I thought maybe, finally, I'd get some peace, Megan reached out. Well, not directly, of course. A week later, I got a message. From Tyler. It said, "Hey, it's Tyler, Megan's husband. I need to talk to you about something important. Do you have time?" I didn't answer right away. I let it sit there for a couple of days. I already knew what this was about. It's always about money. Eventually, I agreed to meet. Figured I had nothing to lose. We sat down at a little cafe in town. He was already there, tapping his foot, staring into a cup of coffee he hadn't even touched. I sat down and waited. "Thanks for coming," he finally said. Didn't sound like he meant it. "I know things are rough between you and Megan," he started, "but we're going through a hard time, and we were hoping you might be willing to help." There it was. The ask. I kept my expression calm. "What do you need?" I asked, like I didn't already know. Tyler sighed, looked down. "Since the honeymoon, things haven't been easy. I lost my job. We're behind on rent. If we don't catch up in 2 weeks, we could lose the apartment." I let that hang there for a second. Then I asked the question I knew would land hard. "Have you asked Rick?" He looked up, surprised. "Rick? No, we haven't talked to him. Megan thought you might help. I mean, you've always been there." I gave a tight smile. Not a kind one. More the kind that comes when irony hits just right. "Exactly," I said. And when it really counted, when she had the chance to show what I meant to her, she picked him. I leaned in a little. "So no, Tyler. I'm not helping this time. Maybe it's time Rick stepped up, just once." He started to argue, said it wasn't just about Megan, that he needed this too. I raised a hand. "Shut it down. This conversation's over," I said. "I wish you both the best. But I'm done fixing things for people who only come around when they want something." Then I stood up, left him sitting there with his cold coffee and whatever speech he didn't get to finish. When I got home after meeting Tyler, Monica was already waiting, like she didn't even need to ask how it went. I didn't say much. Didn't have to. She knew I hadn't helped them. Since then, Megan and Tyler stopped reaching out. Radio silence. But Monica, she's still holding on to it. She doesn't bring it up anymore, not directly, but the tension? It's there. Heavy. Hanging in the quiet moments. And something tells me, this isn't over. Not really. When things break that badly, there are always more pieces coming loose. It's been 6 months since the wedding, and these past months have been strange, unfamiliar, but, honestly, freeing. I've stuck to my choice. I've kept my distance. And while it hasn't exactly made life peaceful, Monica's been cold, distant, resentful. It's been a different kind of quiet. A cleaner kind. The kind where I'm not constantly bending over backwards for people who don't even see me. I've tried explaining it to Monica, over and over, that this was never about the money, it was about respect, about boundaries. But I don't think she hears me. Or maybe she just refuses to. Still, even with all the tension, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Space. Just space to breathe. To remember who I was before I got tangled up in all this. I picked up woodworking again. Reconnected with a couple old friends. Nothing major. But it felt good. Like pieces of myself were finally coming back. And yeah, at first, there was guilt. For stepping back. For saying no. For not being the guy who fixed everything. But now? Now I think it was necessary. Of course, the peace didn't last. A few weeks back, Monica told me Megan and Tyler finally got evicted. Couldn't scrape together what they owed. Landlord gave up waiting. Now they're crashing at Tyler's mom's place, tiny apartment. Barely enough space for 2 people, let alone a married couple hanging by a thread. Monica was furious. Not sad furious. "This wouldn't have happened if you just helped," she snapped. I didn't answer. What was the point? To her, I'm the villain now. Doesn't matter what Megan did or didn't do. If something goes wrong, I'm the one who let her fall. But deep down, I know I made the right call. Megan made her choice. And now she's living in it. That's how it works. And the kicker? Rick, the man she chose to call her father? He's been completely missing in action. Monica told me Megan tried reaching out to him. Not a single reply. Not even a text. No shock there. The guy's been unreliable since day one. The only surprise is that Megan still believes he might show up. A few days ago, while Monica was cooking, she dropped this little gem. Apparently, Rick told Megan he'd help her find a new place to live, but now he's saying he's waiting for his finances to stabilize. I raised an eyebrow. And she believes that? Monica just sighed. He's her father, she said. Like that explained everything. And maybe it does. For years, I tried to fill the hole Rick left behind. Thought if I loved hard enough, showed up enough, gave enough, maybe that would be enough. But maybe it never was. Maybe, for Megan, it was always about biology. That no matter how much I gave, it was never going to match the simple fact that he was her father. And then, last week, Megan reached out. This time, it wasn't about money. Just a message, asking if we could talk. Said she wanted to meet. I didn't jump on it. Took my time. Thought maybe I'd ignore it. But in the end, curiosity won. We met at a park we used to go to when she was little. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench, nervously fidgeting with her hands. When I walked up, she stood and gave me a hug. Quick. Awkward. I hugged her back. Reflex, more than anything else. We sat down. Didn't speak at first. Just sat there in the kind of silence that feels like something's about to break. And then she started talking, but not about why she asked to meet. She talked about Tyler's mom. How cramped the apartment is. How tense the marriage has become. How she misses having a space of her own. I listened. Didn't interrupt. Let her talk. Figured maybe she just needed someone to hear her. And then, finally, she said it. Dad, she whispered. One word. Once, that word meant everything to me. Now, it just sounded hollow. Like a memory that's lost all its meaning. I know I disappointed you, Megan said. I know the wedding hurt you. And I don't think I realized how much until it was too late. I didn't say anything. Just let her talk. Inside, everything was tangled, grief, disbelief, and that familiar sting of resentment I couldn't quite let go of. She took a slow breath, like it took effort to say what came next. I just want to say I'm sorry for how things turned out. I never meant to make you feel like you didn't matter. I looked at her, steady. But you did, I said. Calm. Direct. Not just at the wedding, Megan. Every time you brushed past everything I did. Every time you held Rick up like he was something he never earned. You say you didn't mean for me to feel replaced, but the truth is, I don't think I was ever really in the picture to begin with. Her eyes dropped. That landed harder than she expected. I think she came there hoping for some kind of easy redemption, maybe even for me to pat her on the back and tell her everything would be okay. But it won't be. Some things don't just snap back. Some breaks stay broken. We didn't talk much after that. When we stood up to leave, she said she hoped we could rebuild, maybe find our way back to something better. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because I honestly don't know if there's anything left to rebuild. Megan didn't just bruise me, she fractured something deeper. She broke trust. And that's not something you patch up with a single sorry. And here's the part one haven't told anyone. The part that would destroy what's left if it ever came out. I did something recently. Something that Monica and Megan will probably never forgive me for. And if I'm being honest, I don't even know if I'm asking them to. Because since the wedding, my marriage to Monica hasn't just been strained, it's been unraveling. What started as distance became detachment. And now? Now it just feels like ash. We still live under the same roof, but there's no warmth left. No connection. No kindness. Just two people orbiting the same silence. At first, I thought it was just stress. That we'd get through it. But then the silence turned sharp. Monica didn't just seem disappointed, she seemed angry. Like I'd failed some unspoken test. Like everything Megan was going through was somehow my fault. And that blame? It seeped into everything. The dinners that used to have laughter were quiet now. The movies we used to watch together became solitary rituals in separate rooms. Every time I reached out, she pulled further away. And right in the middle of that quiet, Jenna appeared. Monica's best friend. The fun one. The wild storyteller, always armed with a bottle of wine and a loud laugh. She'd been around for years, part of the furniture of our lives. But after the wedding, something shifted. She started calling more. Checking in. At first, I thought she was trying to help fix things between Monica and me. But over time, I saw it wasn't just that. Jenna listened in a way I hadn't felt in years. She didn't make me feel like the villain. She didn't roll her eyes when I talked about how much I'd given, how little I'd gotten back. She said I wasn't crazy for feeling used, that I mattered. And somehow, her words stuck. I started looking forward to our talks. Not because I was planning anything. I wasn't. But one night, after hours of talking about everything, about nothing, we just sat there in the quiet. Jenna reached for my hand. "You deserve to be happy," she said softly. "And they're not letting you be." I don't know if it was the way she said it, or the fact that I hadn't heard something that kind in so long. But I leaned in, and she didn't stop me. I kissed her. And then I stayed. We didn't sleep together, not that night. But we sat. We laughed. We let go of the weight we'd both been dragging behind us. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was failing at something. I felt seen. I know what I did was wrong, but I don't regret it. Because in Jenna, I felt a connection I'd forgotten existed. The kind I used to have with Monica before everything got twisted up in loyalty, silence, and disappointment. The kind that reminded me I was still human. Still here. Still worth something. Monica knows something's wrong. She doesn't say it, but I see it in the way her eyes follow me when I come home later than usual. And how she pauses when I step out to answer a message. The way her silence stretches just a little longer now, waiting for something I haven't said yet. Jenna feels it too. The guilt. The waiting. But if we're honest with ourselves, neither of us truly regret what happened. Still, I know this can't last. Secrets have a shelf life. And sooner or later, Monica's going to find the expiration date. But until then, at least I don't feel alone anymore. 2 years. That's how long it's been since the wedding. Looking back, it feels like a storm blew through and tore everything down. But the wreckage? It's still there. Some days I can step around it. Other days, I trip right over it. I've rebuilt parts of my life. Pieces. But not the whole. Because Monica and Megan, they cut me out. Completely. And as brutal as that was, part of me thinks they did me a favor. When I finally told Monica the truth, it wasn't some well-timed confession. She got to me first. She stood in the hallway one night, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "What is this?" she asked. "I've seen how you've changed. Tell me the truth." So I did. No build-up. No soft landing. Jenna and I, we've been seeing each other. She was there when no one else was. I watched her face change like a wave-breaking shock, betrayal, then fury. "So that's it," she said. "Everything we built, none of it meant anything to you?" I opened my mouth, but the words came slow. "Monica, while you were pouring yourself into Megan, I was falling apart. And you didn't even see it." She screamed. Loud. The kind of scream that echoes in your bones. "You don't get to say that. You destroyed this family." Then Megan walked in. She didn't look surprised. Just cold. Like she'd been waiting for confirmation. "I thought you were better than this," she said. "You wanted to be the hero. But in the end, you were just another man who made it all about himself." I lost it. "That's not true. You pushed me away. You picked Rick. You cut me out. And then expected me to show up and fix everything when it all fell apart." Monica stepped in. "Was it ever enough for you?" she shouted. "Because it sure doesn't excuse this." Then she turned to Megan. "Let's go." And that was it. No more yelling. No more explanations. Just the sound of the door closing behind them. They told me not to call. Not to write. Just vanish. And I did. I packed a few bags and moved into a small apartment with bare walls and too much silence. The divorce dragged on, ugly, expensive, exhausting. But the worst part wasn't the paperwork. It was knowing that the life I had given everything to was over. Through all of it, Jenna stayed. She didn't sugarcoat things. She didn't try to fix me. She just stayed. And somehow, that was enough to help me stand again. Then, a few months ago, I got a message. From Megan. "Dad, I know I hurt you. I know I let you down. But you'll always be my father. I'm sorry. I know things can't go back to the way they were. But I'll always love you." I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't answer. Not right away. Maybe not ever. Because even love, when it's been broken and buried, needs time before it can be dug up again. But it was something. A crack in the wall. Maybe one day we'll find something on the other side. For now, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. Trying to move forward. No matter what I've left behind.